So what I'm going to make in this video, I've run out of sliding hook rigs for salmon fishing, using a frozen smelt or any kind of bait. Could be a sucker, could be anything. And that's the same rig I use for lake trout and the same rig that I use for salmon fishing, all that. Good morning, my name is Tom. I come to you from the Rustic log cabin in Northern Maine. Get yourself a coffee, pull up a seat in the front of the boat. It's wide open, empty, it's just me out here today. I made a phone call to invite a fella along, but he was too busy. And I can understand being busy. But this is springtime fishing. It's time to clear the calendar. Time to clear the calendar. Well, when I turn this camera on, I talked about it a minute ago in the last video. I don't know how they'll all come together, but you know, I need to make these videos about 10, 12 minutes long, 15 minutes long. Any longer than that, people get bored and they move on. So it kind of defeats the purpose. So what I'm going to make in this video, I've run out of sliding hook rigs for salmon fishing, using a frozen smelt or any kind of bait. Could be a sucker, could be anything. And that's the same rig I use for lake trout and the same rig that I use for salmon fishing, all that. So I can't show you how I'm tying it and all that right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a maybe a two-part video. I'm going to, you know, just because I'm handling the boat, I'm handling fish poles and handling camera all at the same time, and keeping an eye on everything. So there's a whole lot going on in East Grand Woodsman's little circle right here, right now, this morning. And I need to make these sliding hook rigs because right now I'm not really trolling with what I want. I used the last one up yesterday, a day before, so it's time to make a couple new ones. So I'm going to do that right here in the boat. So I'll get stuff out and then I'll show it to you. Alright. In my tackle box, I keep, this little box has been in there for many years as I can remember. And in that box, I keep some treble hooks. I keep some fingernail clippers. And I don't know what this is. I've had it for a billion years. I picked it up in a junk pile. I believe it's the wire. It's a copper gold, you know, you can see copper gold wire. I think it's the wire that is used to rebuild a small electric motor. And like I said, it was in a junk pile, probably at a lawn sale 25 years ago, and I've been in my tackle box ever since. There's no writing on it or anything, but I'm sure you can find this at a fly tying shop, but in a smaller quantity. That's an important part to these sliding rigs. The other thing I use is this right here. It's 20-pound test monofilament, and that's what I build my leader out of. I wish it wasn't windy out here, but I really need a leader. And the other thing I keep in this box is an old fly tying vise. I actually keep two of them. The other one is for the boys. And if you've seen the bottom of my boat, there's always a table here. I call it my coffee table. But anyways, I can clamp this onto my coffee table, and then I can sit here while I'm having coffee, fishing, and I can build these sliding hook rigs. Now I know it'd be a lot easier to do back at the cabin, but in my world, this boat is nothing but an extension to the cabin. I call this my outdoor living room. I am very comfortable. I got a coffee table, I got all the coffee you could imagine. I got a cook stove, I can cook supper, lunch, whatever you want. I even have a blanket on board if I want to spend the night somewhere. So let me get this set up and I'll come back. Alright, got the hook, I got the vise set up. Here's a treble hook. You put that in your vise. And you be very careful, because this is a moving boat and it's windy. You don't want to be flying your hand around a hook that's in a vise. Let me get the boat pointed into the wind. Maybe I won't be quite so all over the place. So now what I do, I go down wind further, but I kind of want to fish up here for a little while. All I do is I run off 6 feet. Stretch out your arms, that's it, that's all you need. The fingernail clippers are for cutting the line. Works better that way. Now you tie this hook on just like you would any hook, any fish hook. And I'll go through this knot when I'm sitting at the table. I'll go through this knot when I'm sitting at the table at the cabin. See, I kind of got my hands full. Whenever you're working with monofilament, always wet the line before you pull it tight. The reason that you do that is so that you don't burn the line. Then you cut off the tail. See, hook's all tied on nice. Now with this other end, you throw this off to the side. The hook that I put in the vise, like I said, I'll show you that all back at the cabin on the table. The hook that's in the vise, now you're going to take this tail end and you're just going to put through the head of it. That's it. And pull that 6 feet right up so that your hook is tied on. It's just behind this one. And that's where this stuff comes in. Now with this stuff, you're going to take off about, that's more than enough. Now also in that little tackle box, I'd keep a pair of wire cutters. Just for cutting that little piece of copper. Now the line that I just ran through, and like I said, I know you're not going to get much out of this. But what I wanted to show you was, this can all be done out in the boat. What I'm doing is wrapping that copper around the hook, pinching that line in there. And I'm going to wrap that copper around that line and hook maybe 8 or 9 times, but not too tight, because that's where the slide comes in. You want it tight enough to hold it, but not so tight that you can't slide the hook easily. And the reason you want to slide the hook is so that the size bait, if it's a large bait, you slide the hook out for the length of the bait. If it's a short bait, you pull the hook in for the length of a short bait. Now on the other end, that's left over, you just got to tie a big loop to be able to hook it to your fish pole. And this sliding rig is done. They're easy to make. There's no reason to go to a fishing tackle store and buy them. And the same deal with this knot. Wet it, pull it tight. I cut the end off. Now, I have a sliding hook rig. And it's so windy out here that that's the only one I'm going to make right now. If I get into a calm cove or the wind lets up, then I will make another one. But for right now, that's more than enough. So I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'll bring you back. I'm going to put it on the pole, and I'm going to put a smelt on it. And with any luck, we'll catch a fish with that sliding rig, the one that I made right here in the boat. I will see you next week in the next video, and I want you to have a great week.